21 Cheap Places to Travel in 2023. There are many factors to consider when planning a vacation, from finding cheap places to travel and the safety of your intended destination to hotel options. But like it or not, there's one thing that influences our travel decisions more than anything else: money. All those resort fees, plane tickets, and life-changing meals add up pretty quickly, so at the end of the day, we really want to prioritize places where our greenbacks have the most spending power. We did a little digging to find the countries where the US dollar goes the furthest, based on current exchange rates. And while our fickle global economy means those rates can change at any time, there are certain places that have consistently offered more bang for our buck over the years, and, fingers crossed, they should stay that way well into 2023. Without further ado, here are 21 of the best cheap places to travel around the world. Hungary. $1 equals 379.64 HUF. Hungary's favorable economy is great news for anyone planning a trip to Budapest, where a growing scene of Michelin-starred restaurants and high-tech spas are calling to us from across the globe. Budapest has tons of 5-star hotels with 3-star prices, but for something indulgent, splurge for a room at the Four Seasons Hotel Gresham Palace Budapest, an old-world property filled with chandeliers, stained glass, and white stucco. This is Europe's capital of hedonism. After all, you might as well lean into it. South Korea. $1 equals 1,295 South Korean won and 74 Jian. While other travelers head to the popular tourist destinations of Seoul, Busan, and Jeju Island, we have our eyes set on another South Korean city, Mokpo, located in the Jeolla region, at the southern tip of the peninsula. The port city offers some of the most interesting dining in the country, and specialty dishes like hojeo, a naturally fermented, extremely pungent skate fish dish, attract food lovers from around the world. Mexico. $1 equals 19.7 for MXN. Mexico is consistently one of our favorite places to travel on a budget. In Mexico City, with a street food culture rivaled only by its forward-looking restaurant scene, you'll be spending most of your money on eats. But make sure to leave some bucks to visit all the cultural wonders the city has to offer, starting with the iconic Museo Jumex. If you are looking to go a little farther afield, head to Jalisco to see tequila being made at the source, or Alajuela for a sleepy beach scene. Argentina. $1 equals 172.06 AS. No, that is not a typo. The Argentine peso is currently at an all-time high. Some added benefits for American travelers to the country. In 2016, the Argentine government removed the $160 reciprocity fee for U.S. citizens and announced that foreigners would be able to get a refund for the 21% value-added tax on hotel stays, which happens automatically at the time of billing. If you need us, we'll be spending our extra cash on steak and Malbec. Vietnam. $1 equals 23,545.00 VND. Plenty of countries in Southeast Asia are great deals for dollar carriers right now, but we recommend a trip to Vietnam, in part because of the steadily increasing exchange rate, but mostly for the country's mind-blowing beauty. Hanoi is arguably the most romantic city in the region, but don't be afraid to venture off the beaten track during your next visit. Places like Nine Van Bay and Phu Chu Sea Island have pristine beaches and intimate resorts you won't find in the more touristed areas. Brazil. $1 equals 5.3 to BRL. Like much of South America, Brazil is a good place to visit if you don't want to break the bank. But the fact that a dollar gets you 5.3 to Brazilian reals means you can get even better value than usual. Rio de Janeiro's the most obvious place to spend time and money, with incredible hotels, like the Emiliano, a 2018 Hot List winner, just steps away from some of the world's best beaches. But don't forget to visit São Paulo, too, where a younger generation has introduced hip galleries, museums, and bars to several long-neglected neighborhoods. South Africa. $1 equals 17.19 ZAR. The value of the South African rand has fluctuated a lot over the past few years, but we're pretty happy with where it is today. To compare, $1 only got you 8.57 ZAR 10 years ago. Stretch those bucks on the Test Kitchen's 21-course tasting menu in Cape Town, then head into the wilderness at Singita Castleton Lodge in the Sabi Sand Game Reserve. Sri Lanka. $1 equals 365.65 SLR. The Sri Lankan rupee has slowly gotten more and more favorable over the past couple of decades, but it completely skyrocketed this past year. A dollar converted to 201 SLR in February, and now look where we are. We are more excited than ever to explore this incredible island nation, where you can see leafy tea plantations, Buddhist temples, golden beaches, and elephant sanctuaries in one memorable trip. Costa Rica $1 equals 593.31 CRC. The Costa Rican colon has depreciated a bit in recent months, but it still remains favorable for US travelers. Then there's the fact that the country's best asset, i.e., its natural beauty, is mostly free to enjoy. From trekking through the tropical cloud forests in the mountains of Alajuela, to surfing off the coast of Peninsula Papagayo, Costa Rica is one of the world's best countries for outdoor adventure. And the hotels are pretty great, too. Colombia $1 equals 4,778.33 COP. Colombia feels like a microcosm of South America's best features, encompassing Andean peaks, Amazonian jungles, and sandy beaches within its borders. Besides the allure of nature, the country's major cities are experiencing a renaissance in food, art, and technology, yet it's still one of the most affordable places for Americans to visit right now. Philippines $1 equals 55.60 PHP. We are never not dreaming about island hopping in the Philippines. It's hard to believe that places like Palawan and Siargao are so economically accessible, given that they are some of the most beautiful places on the planet. Even 5-star resorts like Shangri-La Boracay can be reserved for under $350 per night, which is all the incentive we need to book a trip right. Egypt $1 equals 24.72 EGP. Following in the footsteps of pharaohs, in Egypt feels like it should be expensive, but the Egyptian pound has skyrocketed this year. That means touring the pyramids, cruising the Nile, and exploring Cairo has never been more affordable. We are excited to check out relatively new openings, like St. Regis Cairo and the beach villas at Four Seasons Hotel Alexandria. And we've been anxiously awaiting the official opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum for years now, but it looks like it might actually happen in 2023. Malaysia $1 equals 4.39 MYR. Your cash will stretch far in Malaysia, especially if you fill up on street food and explore cities like Kuala Lumpur on foot. It's also inexpensive, or in some cases, free, to visit the country's pristine beaches, limestone caves, and some of the most beautiful tea plantations. If you are ready and willing to shell out the big bucks, however, we highly recommend shacking up at the Date Alangkar. It's definitely expensive, but wholly worth it. India $1 equals 80.67 INR. India has always been a cheap travel destination. Now that you can get almost 83 rupees to the dollar, however, the country is more affordable than ever. Hotels run the gamut from $60 per night bungalows to pricey Oberoi and Six Senses outposts, plus hundreds of options in between. But as long as you don't hole up in your resort the entire time, you can visit plenty of attractions and dine at local restaurants on an extremely tight budget. Serbia $1 equals 110.46 RSD. Belgrade continues to emerge as one of Europe's most exciting cultural epicenters, but it's massively less expensive than, say, Paris or Berlin, at least for now. It's relatively easy to find hotels under $100, though accommodations aren't all that important when you spend all night dancing in clubs around the city. But you will want to get some rest to explore Belgrade's wealth of museums and contemporary art installations, many of which just opened in the past few years. North Macedonia $1 equals 57.87 MKD. Perhaps it's because the coastal countries get all the attention, but North Macedonia remains one of the most criminally underrated, and therefore affordable, countries in Europe. The landlocked Baltic state is a sleeper hit for those in the know, especially if you head to the charming city of Ohrid. It has all the cobbled streets and quaint churches one would expect from a European town, with the added advantage of being right on the shores of the incredibly gorgeous and biodiverse Lake Ohrid. Nepal $1 equals 130.08 NPR. Nepal is one of the cheapest countries to visit for all travelers, but the US dollar is particularly strong there right now. Most people immediately associate Nepal with Mt Everest, but the tiny nation has much more to offer than bucket list climbs. Kathmandu is overwhelming at first, but it hides some great hotels and museums once you start digging. Bhaktapur and Patan, both close by in the Kathmandu Valley, are a bit more low-key but still packed with culture. The Gambia $1 equals 60.05 GMD. It may be continental Africa's smallest country, but don't you dare overlook the Gambia. The ultra-affordable nation has long been a coveted spot for wildlife enthusiasts, but it's starting to rise in the ranks as both a food destination and luxury cruise port of call. Indonesia, $1 equals 15,614.15 IDR. Despite the post-eat, pray, love influx of tourists, Indonesia remains an affordable vacation spot overall. While millions of people flock to Bali, where resort prices are steep in response, you can enjoy a much cheaper and more peaceful trip on the islands of Sumba and Lombok. And don't forget about Jakarta, where a solid day includes filling up on greasy noodles and nasi goreng gila from makeshift street stalls, all for just a couple of US bucks. Uzbekistan, $1 equals 11,260.00 UZS. Uzbekistan is still on the up and up when it comes to foreign travel, which makes it one of the most exciting and affordable destinations in Central Asia. The major cities are filled with both intricate mosques and brutalist monuments, all free to explore, and you'll be hard-pressed to spend more than $5 per meal at restaurants. There aren't too many name-brand hotels set up yet, but even places like the Hyatt Regency Tashkent have nightly rates below $170. Turkey, $1 equals 18.63 Tri. Though touring major landmarks and staying at luxury hotels in Istanbul will quickly eat through your lira, Turkey is still a viable option for budget travelers. The exchange rate is also super great right now. Just prioritize non-touristy restaurants and street food vendors, and visit free attractions like the Grand Bazaar and Hagia Sophia. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment.